Watch guys, just want to do an update video on my homemade baiting pole. I've done a couple of videos on this now. The first one was using screw fittings to join the conduit poles together. Now it worked okay, but after a while, when the screws got dirty, they're quite hard to get them to bite together nice and tight. So I've got an alternative in the second video where I introduced the spring clips. So that's my second video that I've done. And I just thought I'd combine the two videos together and tell you about the other updates that I have done to the pole to make it what I think is the best homemade pole you can get. Watch guys, video with a bit of a difference this one. Obviously I'm not on the bank, I'm in my garage. Now I've been considering buying a baiting pole and all of them are just a bit too expensive for my liking. So I thought I'd go about trying to make my own one. Let me show you how I'm going to make this and then we'll see at the end of the video if it actually works. Is it possible to build a budget baiting pole? Let's find out. Okay guys, so like I say, to buy a pole off the shelf works out quite expensive for the distances I want to use it at. I want to be hitting spots between 6 and 7 wraps out. 6 to 7 wraps, so 7 wraps, 7 times 4 is 28, so it's 28 yards. 28 yards into meters works out about 25 meters. With 14 of these, I'm hitting well over the 25 meters. Like I say, I've got extra to what I want really, but like I say, it's only 2 or 3 quid a pole, if that, and yeah, so it's quite cheap. Okay, before I took the dive and bought all the lengths of pole, I did buy a couple of lengths and I've cut it down to smaller sections just because I wanted to test it and I wanted to see how rigid it was, and it's pretty rigid, this stuff. And also I want to see if by adding the expanding foam into the pole, whether it made it more rigid, and also I want to make sure that it floats, just in case the pole was to come apart in the water. I don't want it sinking to the bottom. So what I did was done a test. One test where the entire pole, this one here is the entire pole done, and it's got foam all the way through. And I've done another test where I just put a bit of foam in each end, so trapping the air inside the tube like so. And both of these float very well. If you push them under the water, no air bubbles come out of either of them, and yeah, they want to float very much so. So what I'm thinking, and like I say, they're pretty rigid, I don't think it's actually made that much difference putting the foam in as to how bendy they are. I would say yes, the one without the foam all the way through is probably slightly more bendy, but very little in it, if I'm honest. So what I'm thinking, to save on filling the entire length of these poles with the foam and wasting foam that I don't need to use, I'm thinking about just plugging probably the first sort of foot or so of each pole with the foam, trapping the air in the middle. And what I'll do then is I'll trim that off once it's all set and sand down the edges. So first things first, what I'm going to do is use the expanding foam, and like I say, I'm going to plug up the ends of each of these poles, and then we've got to let it set for a couple of hours. So I'm going to do that whilst wearing the protective gloves that come with it, because it's pretty horrendous stuff. You don't want this getting on your hands. Yeah, it's pretty corrosive, so be careful when using this. And also what I'm going to do is underneath the ends of the poles, I'm going to put something to protect the floor so I don't get any foam dripping out the ends of the poles and ruining the floor in the garage. It's not that great a floor anyway, but I don't want to make it worse. So yeah, without further ado, let's get filling the tubes. So make sure the can is shaken well. And then attach the top section. Like so. And then it's got to be used inverted, so it's upside down like so. Let's put the tube inside there. That should be enough for that one. Should be enough for that one. Should be enough for that one. That one. And as you can see, the foam continues expanding once it's in there, hence the reason I put something underneath to stop anything falling on the floor. Quite satisfying seeing all that come out of there. Okay, so I'm going to do the other end. For the next section, the microphone wasn't working, so I'm having to resort to doing a voiceover, so please bear with me. Okay, so for the attaching of the spoon, I'm actually using the inside of an old bank stick from a broken rod pod I used to use. I'm using the female section of the attachments, and I'm keeping the little collar in the top of the attachment because it makes it fit nice and snug onto the bank stick. What I've also done is put some electrical tape around the end of the bank stick so it fits nice and snug into the female section. And what I want to do is, before the foam sets, is using some Gorilla glue the bank stick into the female section, and then in turn glue it onto the pole. To help the glue fix onto the pole, what I will do is actually rub around the end of the pole with a bit of sandpaper to give it a bit of a key for glue to actually stick to. So here it goes. It doesn't need too much glue, just a thin line of glue around the circumference of the tube, and just as I'm sticking on, I'm just spinning it around a little bit just to get the glue to cover every part of the inside. Now this glue is really quite thick, it's like a treacle, and it's very hard to come out of the tube. So yeah, once you get it going it's okay, but to get it started it needs a bit of a squeeze. But like I say, just a thin line around the entire circumference of the pole. And it's water activated, this, so it's best if you put a bit of water inside the fitting you're putting it onto. And then just inserting the bank stick and the female section onto the end. Like I say, I'm doing this before the foam sets. Got a little bit too much glue in there, but we'll wipe that clean. Like so. Okay, so now the foam is all set. Just going to that down and cut off the excess on these using an hacksaw. Just go straight through it. It's like a knife through butter. There you go. Trimmed all the ends down. This is the glued in section for the cup or the bait and spoon to go into, and that is on there really solid. That's not going anywhere. In the video that you're about to see, I use a spigot about that big. Now what I've done is I've extended it, so I've got double the spigot length coming out, and obviously double the spigot length going inside the tube. I just found it makes that join section much more rigid, so when you're really bending the pole, it really helps to kick the pole over. So that's one change I've done. So it's a double the length of spigot to what you see in the video. Now in the video you see I put tape over to make the spigot fit nicely inside the bigger conduit. So I've got two lengths of tape inside. Now someone in the comments on my videos, or a couple of guys, commented with alternatives to this, and I've put their comments in the video so you can even read those. And I've not tried them, and if I was to make a new baiting pole, I would definitely consider their opinions and their comments, so worth checking those out if you intend to make this baiting pole. So now we've got a spring-loaded batten, a bit like the popular model that's available in the shops. So that is spring-loaded, and now that's locked in place. Simple as that. Really sturdy. So what did I do? Let me just explain. Okay, so what did I do? I got a length of conduit in 20mm diameter. Now remember, the poles that we made before were 25mm diameter, and the idea being you want to stick a length of the 20mm inside the 25mm to make the spigot to join the poles with. Now the 20mm conduit, when it goes into the pole, it's actually quite loose, so what I've done is I've wrapped about 5-6 wraps of duct tape around each end of the 20mm conduit, and I've cut it in lengths about the thickness of the duct tape, like 2-inch duct tape. So I've got a length of duct tape there, and I've got a length of duct tape there, like I say, wrapped around about 5 times. And then what I've done, and I'll show you on this short piece here, is I've glued one end in to the halfway point using the Gorilla Glue. So you've got the spigot sticking out, which has still got a length of the duct tape sticking on it. So one thing about this spigot section is I cannot get this smaller conduit from Screwfix anymore. They've got an alternative, but whether it's the same or whether it fits, it might fit without the tape, I don't know, I've not tested it. So do a little bit of experimentation yourself. And like I say, in the video there are some comments of alternatives that people are recommending for this spigot, so it's worth checking those out as well. Now when you watch the video, you'll see I fill the pole with expanding foam, and one of the questions I've been asked is how do I get the spigot inside the pole with the expanding foam? Well, it's simple, just literally let the foam set and then push the spigot in and force the foam inside the tube. It goes in easy, and yeah, just what you're doing is compressing the foam up inside the tube. So that's that question out of the way. So I've done that to all the poles. Obviously only need to do one end, and then what I've done is I made myself a little template like so. I'll come forward so you can see it, and what I'll do with that is grab one that I haven't done yet, is lay that onto the length of the duct tape and use the pre-drilled hole as a guide as to where to drill. and do that on the spigot end and again on the bigger end. Okay, so what I've done, and I've drilled a hole for the spring clip. That's in the upright position there, and I've just made sure the hole in the non-spigot end is in alignment at the top as well. Just to keep it all nice and neat so you don't end up with the spring clips or different angles going down the pole. Using the template as a guide onto the tape, it fits exactly in the right position each time. And all this template is half of a 25mm conduit cut lengthwise, and I've just drilled the hole in the, so it's halfway down the tape section, and then so you know it's going to be exactly the same on every pole. And I've just left a little bit of a gap there just in case any of the cuts are slightly off, and it can still get in position and the hole can go over the pin. So once the hole is drilled, all you simply do is push one of these spring clips, and these cost me, oh, I'm not too sure. So I've got 20 clips, and I think it cost me about £8 including delivery. But there's the spring clip as it comes out the pack, and all you do once you've drilled the hole is you put the pointed end in and push it down until the spring clip goes into the hole that you've drilled, and that's it. So you'll end up with something like that. Yeah, so it makes a nice neat pole with a nice strong joint. Obviously the proof will be in the put in when our nets get down the lake, but yeah, I'm happy with that. So I can't see why it's not going to work on the bank. Obviously I will show you how it copes, but first impressions are very good. So here's to the Mark II Bosch tree knocker. Yeah, let's see how it goes. Screw the spoon in. Now the spoon itself I've got online. I've actually bought a spoon, however I have adapted it somewhat. So it's a Nash particle spoon I got online for about £7-8. But what I've done is I've got a couple of old shampoo bottles. You can sort of work out the shape of them there. There's the lid, that's the bottle. And I've used the Gorilla Tape, the black Gorilla Tape, to stick them to the sides of the spoon just to aid in the balance of the spoon. And it does work quite well. You still got to be careful, you could tip it over fairly easy, but it does tend to want to sit nice and flat like that. So yeah, I'm very happy with that. I was thinking of gluing it and doing all sorts, but I think this tape will probably hold its own. I've done some repairs with it before that have been out in all weathers and it's still sticking, so I'm pretty confident that I won't need to do any more to that. That's going to work. If it does start peeling off, then obviously I'll put some more tape on or think about doing a more permanent fixture. But at the moment, with those 2 shampoo bottles taped to the sides, now we know where I've got that idea from, so and it does tend to help. So I don't need to have the foam on the handle. Using these bottles holds it nice and flat and gives it plenty of buoyancy. Not my idea, like I say. If you've been looking at baiting poles online, you'd have seen that elsewhere, but you'll be paying a lot more money for it. And the only other change I've made is in the spoon itself. The major change I've done is I've lowered these washing up liquid bottles, which are like the ballast. I've lowered them down slightly. On the original video they were sort of level with the top of the spoon. I made them lower so it helped the spoon sit higher in the water, because when you've got an heavy lead and your bait in there, it was sinking down and I found the water was right on the edge of the rim of the spoon, so I've lowered these and it helps lift it out of the water a little bit more. The other things I've done, using a bit of plastic which I've cut off an old shampoo bottle or something, just take that in, so you've got a little V coming up. That enables you to put your line round and put the lead in there, and it helps. Sometimes when you're putting the spoon out, what I found, any tension on the line and the lead might pop out, so doing this just stops that from happening. And that's just taped in there, again using the Gorilla tape which I talked about in the video. And the only other change I've done is I've introduced, again from an old shower gel bottle or shampoo bottle, a little dividing section, and I've put that in there with heat glue gun, and basically what that does is enables me to put my rig or the hook section in the top. There's a couple of little grooves there to put your line through, so the hook will sit in there, lead in here with your freebies, and yeah, it just helps keep it separated. So that is the only other change I've made. So a couple of years ago when I made this, it cost about £50 to make. What I thought I'd do is, even though I haven't remade it, I've looked at the prices and I've got the links for all the bits and pieces, and you'll see the total tally at the end of the video as to how much it costs to make this in October 23. So yeah, keep watching the video and you'll see how much you can make a 30-metre bait and pole for. This was a tenner online, but I did have to pay for postage on it. Now these 2-metre poles just fit in. I can't actually do it up. It's fine for my purposes. If you wanted to get this bag in particular and get these to fit, then obviously you could cut it so it fits to the length and take a foot off or so. This is meant for 6-foot poles. It's actually a sports bag for corner flags and football training poles. That's what it's for. So I've got it, not paying any carp tax on that. Nice and cheap, but it does the job. Holds all the poles in there nice and easy. So what I do is, at the bottom of the video I will put a link for all the bits that I've used to make this spoon. So if you fancy having a go yourself, you can have a look. As you can see, it was pretty windy when I was putting the pole up, and that does make it quite difficult. But what I found using the pole I've made is to sort of counteract the bend in the pole. So the pole will start bending obviously with the wind, and then what I find is if you ease it into the wind as far as you can, the pole will slowly bend in the direction you're pushing the pole to go. And then you'll get to a point where you almost flick the pole the opposite way, and the shape of the pole will bend round into the opposite direction of the wind. It's quite complex to explain, but hopefully you can see what I mean from the video. Down there. over. And then round. What that does, sort of flicks it back where you want it to go, like so. And that just about there. That dimage there. £18, 14, Watergate Common. Absolutely made up to bits with this one.